headquarters.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the hot seat that brings journalists and analysts to dig deep into stories that happen through the week. My name is Derek Wandera, hosting today's show. I have quite a huge panel. On my extreme left is Isaac Kayonde from he's from Gomba West. I have Jimmy Odoki from the civil society. Just opposite to me is Joseph Sabiti. I don't want to tell you what Joseph is calling me one of these days, but I have Timothy Kalejira.
You are the unofficial spokesperson of the National Unity Platform. Yeah. They should confirm you and give you the job.
On my extreme right is Timothy Kalejira, a veteran and senior journalist. I want to begin with you, Joseph, from Gulu, because we want to begin with the House regional sittings that happened this week. I want you to bring us to speed what exactly it is, which issues of Gulu or West Nile, but also the entire North did Parliament speak about, and what are some of the way forwards that were brought in the sittings?
Thank you, Derek. You missed Gulu. You missed the nice environment.
You refuse to take me.
If I take you, they'll say I'm bribing you. I don't know what to get. This town has become so complicated. So I think that it was a great experience in Gulu. I was there from Monday and returned today. For me, the highlights included some of the consultations with people who on a normal day probably would not have their voices heard in Parliament. The meeting with the Acholi Paramount Chief, David Achana Onen II. He gave a long list of what he called the problems of the Acholi. And then
the 36 problems?
No, it includes the 36. Yeah. And then the meeting with the two archbishops, John Baptist Odama and Raphael Wakorach at the church in Gulu, but also the meetings with the market women, the different associations.
Those were sidelines.
The sidelines, yes. But those meetings for me brought out more the issues away from the normal parliamentary practice of MPs going to in form of committees and collecting information and bringing it to the House. And it is, I think that. Also, the other highlight for me is that there are actually members of Parliament who had not crossed Karuma. The Honorable Abdu Katuntu said he sat with the MPs who said they had not crossed Kawempe from the time they came to Parliament. So discussing these national issues from the Kampala, probably I've had complaints about the quality of debate and everything. It's different when you put Derek who has traversed this country to discuss issues across and that, but also the 36 issues that were outlined and presented to the President. I think that the crucial part is that we need to take note of the 20 years of the LRI war and the fact that the guns went silent. Many people think now the problem is solved. If you've been to Gulu, the impact of that conflict is going to last probably another 20 more years or longer. There are broken families, the violent communities. There's a very interesting street youth guys who can hammer you the way they want in the night and things like that. They are go boys and things like that. So I think that it was a good opportunity for MPs to touch base on the ground and get a feel of what exactly Gulu looked like. It was interesting to note that so many of those MPs had never crossed Karuma Bridge. So their view of the country was basically through what Wandera writes and stuff like that. But Derek, I also wanted to say today that the Gulu sittings gave me one of the biggest goofs in journalism. All media houses wrote front page and said that the sitting in Gulu costed 5 billion shillings. I dare any journalist worth their name to actually prove that figure was right.
What was the right figure?
No. You see, when you're doing journalism, society expects you to verify it and state facts. So, a politician holds a press conference and says the budget is 5 billion, and the entire media landscape in the country runs with it as the gospel truth. For me, that's a conviction of journalism, and I think that we have embarrassed this noble profession, because I don't think it was hard for prominent media houses, the best media houses in this town, to actually verify that information and find the right figures. So. And number two, I watched the analysis that was happening from Kampala studios. And Isaac, I have never seen a group of people so detached from reality. During this week, all the radio stations in the north were airing the proceedings of Parliament. The speaker went to Mega FM, the deputy speaker went to Radio Patches. They opened up the call lines, and people, Ugandans, everyday people, gave their views about that sitting. I understood that there's a concept of people wearing suits in Kampala and sitting in offices, Jimmy's friends in civil society, and then beginning to speak for Uganda when they have extremely no idea of what the reality is down there. So, and then the other thing is that I think that we are bastardizing a very interesting debate about our budgeting priorities. There's a conversation we need to have as a country about where we place our budget priorities. But do you know what people have done? They have run away with 1% and said Parliament is wasting money in Gulu and this and this. And then the people who are talking about Parliament wasting money in Gulu received facilitation for Gulu and stayed in Kampala. And when journalists ask them questions, they say, they're going to deduct automatically. But that's not true. So people picked money, stayed in Kampala, and are crying about wastage.
What was the money for? Again?
Allowance.
MPs, when they travel out of Kampala, normal parliamentary practices that they are given allowances to facilitate them. They have to sleep and stuff like that. And all the 529 MPs were paid, including the boycotters. Nobody spoke about it until it came out that they had received that money. But also, too, the budget that was used in Gulu, consolidated from the parliament budget, no supplementary budget, was 1.6 billion more than what the leader of opposition uses for travel abroad in a financial year. Yes, the difference was just 1.6. Joel Senyonyi's office alone has 1.4 billion shillings for travel abroad. The advocate for...
So does that mean the budget was 3 billion?
The consolidated was 3. So it is 1.6 more than what the leader of opposition uses for travel abroad. And let me explain to you some of the things that he does when he goes abroad. He goes for benchmarking, standard practice for tourism. He goes to play volleyball during the East African Games. Yes, he's a volleyball player. I'm setting facts.
Gentlemen, let us
I'm giving you facts.
Parliamentary game.
I'm giving.
It's official.
No, listen. I'm giving you facts. My brother Joel thinks that it is wrong to use 3 billion to hold a sitting in Gulu, but it is okay for him to have 1.4 billion to go and play volleyball. That's the contradiction. You're talking about budget discipline. You're flying a lead car with a backup car with a team of how many policemen to remove a dictator. You have 1.4 billion to travel abroad.
There are very many times I've seen him without that.
No. He always has them. You have 1.4 billion for travel abroad. You have 400 million for inland travel. You have 100. No, let me first give you these figures. You have 100 million for entertainment, dancing around and moving and stuff like that. You have 22 million for bed sheets and clothing. The leader of opposition who is so concerned about Ugandans and not spending their money. I am saying that there's a fundamental conversation about the budget priorities of this country. It must be discussed across, and probably one day we need a national altar where everybody will come and say sorry for misdirecting the budgeting process. I am saying that the Honorable Joel Senyonyi cannot claim to be the advocate for saving taxpayers' money. He's one of the biggest beneficiaries of that money. But also, too, when he talks about certain things, let's say, for example, corruption and what and stuff like that, I have it on record that he wrote a requisition for 5 days to go and visit the Honorable Segrinya and went for 1 day and came back. No. What was the explanation? He was caught. Let me tell you, he went with the Honorable John Baptist Nambeshe on the same requisition, and Honorable Nambeshe has accounted for 5 days. He stayed in Nairobi for 5 days. When Joel was caught, he ran to address a press conference. In that press conference, again, he lied and said, for me, I wrote for 1 day. I don't know how the money came, but I am telling you on record in Parliament.
He returned the money.
He he returned the money after he had been caught.
Okay. John is not here to defend him. So
no. These are facts. These are facts.
Joseph, I wanted us to not attack one human being.
No. It's not an attack. It's facts.
I know that this conversation has superseded and has spanned just away from just Joel as a person, and many people are talking about it. But I wanted to ask you, we spent 3 billion in Gulu or North. On a normal day in Kampala, how much do we spend for a sitting?
Now,
and that's where the conversation should go.
And that is where, again, the media got it from. Parliament of the Republic of Uganda has a budget. Whether they sit in Gulu, whether they sit in Zombo, or they sit in Busia, that is the money that has been allocated to them for the next for one financial year. Parliament has the budget for committees to travel across the country. It has budget to facilitate MPs and staff to do oversight work. The leadership said, instead of, for example, saying that we have 3 billion and it should be given to committees only to go, we're going to work internally. It is a budget neutral exercise. No extra budget, no supplementary. Within the budget of Parliament, we are going to realign this money and take the house to Gulu. But also, the framers of our 95 Constitution did not say that Parliament is a building in Kampala. Article 95.2 says, any place that has been proclaimed by the Speaker shall be Parliament. So we grew up with the feeling that that building on, I don't know, next to the wing to next to National Theatre is actually Parliament. It's the Parliament buildings. It's the Parliament building. So Article 95.2 states that anywhere in this country Parliament can sit.
Joel, Joseph, just with you again. Let's now get down to why Parliament went to the north, because there are many issues there that needed to be addressed, that you promised that were going to be addressed. The issue of the apartheid question, the issue of nodding syndrome. When you go to the extreme east, and that is the insecurity there in Karamoja and the Hang and stuff like that. And then when you go to your place in West Nile, the issues of power, the issues of joining the national grid law. What was the national grid? What was the discussion around those issues? And you think, in your view, that these have been brought afore and they're going to be handled?
Derek, first, Parliament of the Republic of Uganda can sit anywhere as the Speaker deems fit. That is the law. So even the whole thing of trying to dramatize Gulu and make it look like a special thing is a non-starter. In 1995, the Right Honourable Anita Among and the Right Honourable Thomas Taiba were not in Parliament when the framers of the Constitution said that any place that has been proclaimed by the Speaker, Parliament can sit there. So for me, even I don't know why people labored so much to say, why are you going to Gulu or not? As long as it is within the geographical boundaries of this country. Actually, I would take the Parliament to sit in Apa. The next day, yes.
That one we
answering my question.
Yes. So what's the question? Yes.
My question is, what was the extent of the discussion of the issues that where Parliament said we are taking Parliament to the people to listen to their issues? You, in your view as a journalist, a veteran journalist for that, do you feel these issues were brought to the floor of Parliament and so they were given that attention?
So, Derek, I watched a bit of conversation today of especially media people, I think where you appeared. Listen, the functions, roles of Parliament are enshrined in the Constitution. There was a feeling that Parliament, when it goes to Gulu, then it will carry graders, it will carry drugs, it will carry, and then begin to fix, then it will go to APA, and so that function of executing what discussions, debate, issues are deliberated upon in Parliament belongs to the executive. So let's first agree that you did not expect the Speaker to carry graders and start
but that's
grading.
not what we are talking about.
No. When you ask that what has been achieved, the last sitting of the House was today. Implementation of government program. There's nothing that can be implemented in 3 days. So the question should be, was the debate, and the good thing is that these conversations, these debates were open to the media.
Yeah, I'm asking about
it was broadcast.
Maybe to help Joseph.
Yes.
Of course, he's asking for the result of that
in 3 days.
In 3 days.
No,
yes.
I'm not.
Okay.
asking for the debate.
On the debate.
Yes.
Let me, as a person who followed some of the proceedings, I feel like it was really rich in terms of what they went to discuss about the North, right? Before the sitting started, there were, of course, committees had gone. There were things that we were seeing. The local government committee, I think, had gone. It had found on the payroll these people who were getting salaries, and they were not there. Now, I asked myself, if that debate was in Kampala, it was very easy for that town clerk to have said, I'll go back and investigate. But when they put him to the task, where are these people? Bring them. Since we are here in this place, you bring these people. And they had no answer to it. The PDM things which they discovered there, there was that focus on that region. I mean, you can remember the man who stood up and talked about the deaths in Karamoja against the national average in terms of mortality. It was 500. Like, issues of the North came to the fore. Right? Now, whether they will be worked on or budgets will be adjusted by the executive or whatever it is, that's another debate altogether. But for in terms of focus, I think it achieved one in terms of creating awareness in the region. Secondly, bringing issues of the roads, Koboko, where these that have been in the NRM. So, if you ask me whether that debate was useful and whether it brought the attention of issues of the North, it did, and it was a good thing anyway.
Good enough. We have Jimmy Achalam, who is from that region, and he has interacted with some of these problems from.
He's from Gulu.
He's from Gulu. Jimmy Achalam, I want you to help our listeners understand this. Joseph and Isaac are trying to tell us that the issues were actually brought to the floor of Parliament and they were discussed to their exhaustion. For you, as a person who has felt and touched these things with your hands and your legs and your everything, what do you feel about the debate that happened in Gulu?
Yes, it's good the issues were raised. I think Dr. Monda made a list and read out, but those things were known before. Maybe it's usually about implementation. These problems are known. It's good that, I don't know, Joseph didn't talk about the president being, president and all that. And it's the one, ruling out, saying, you guys have the roads, but you're not utilizing the roads well. How can you be bringing issues of this? So the issues are really known. Maybe it be more visible, but if it had been done from Kampala, wouldn't they have brought out those issues? I think the general complaint has been about.
Let me just
give him one.
Okay.
So the issue has been really about priorities. That the intern doctors, they're saying now you're going to pay for your. So if you weigh which was more important, or is Joseph saying whether it went there or not, that money would have been spent anyway by Parliament.
Yeah. And that's exactly the point I'm making. People are making arguments, what I would call the arguments that I have with my people in Zombo when we are playing cards. People who don't know the budgeting process. Once the budget of the financial year was passed and that money was appropriated to Parliament, it doesn't go to paying intern doctors. That is why I'm saying that we are bastardizing a very critical debate. The valid, solid debate is our budget priorities. When we sit down during the budget process, where do we put our priorities? The medical sector needs the interns. The roads need to be fixed. The health sector needs attention. Water, good sanitation and water is important. But Jimmy, if that house had not gone to Gulu, that money was not going to pay the intern doctors. The budget doesn't work like that. So the budget, that's
the priorities in the budget.
Now that is the conversation. The conversation is not that Parliament went to Gulu. The conversation is that our budget priorities as a country need to be addressed. And
let me take this to Timothy to try to help us understand the essence of the sittings. Of course, many people have cast a lot of criticism, so to say, but also in equal measure, there are those that have actually approved of the sittings. And the main issue, the main reason for taking these sittings to the regions was such that to go and listen to the people, listen to the issues from the horse's mouth, so to say, such that they can be debated with proof, with evidence. Do you feel this is what's happening in Gulu, or this is what happened in Gulu, Tim?
Well, I thought from the very beginning that what mattered the most, I think, was symbolism. And I guess even beyond just Uganda, this idea of in-person meetings, why do heads of state meet for Commonwealth summits when they can have, Zoom calls? We tried that for 2 years during the lockdown, and there was a pro and con to the idea of Zoom calls. But we also still discover when it ends, we go back to the in-person. So politically, either way, whether it's a State of the Nation address or the opening of Parliament, whichever it is, there won't be much that will come out of Parliament that will decisively change Uganda. But the psychological feeling for people who feel they're remote from the center, where everything, 90% of the media reporting is always around Kampala, it does make a difference to feel these people came to town. You just can't measure yet. Maybe you might, from the media point of view, do an investigation 2 months from now toward Christmas. Do people in Gulu discuss politics more? Is there more sales of the Daily Monitor and whatnot? Have people felt, hey, this actually is me? You just don't know that tipping point in which the apolitical get involved. Then, well, from a crude practical point of view, when you have nearly, let's say 500 members of Parliament with personal assistants, drivers, and people like that, with the sorts of salaries and allowances they have, and they just land in the middle of town, and when you calculate all those empty hotel rooms that Uganda hotel and tourism industry is struggling with, the restaurants, the craft shops, the central market, the sales of the ODs and all these things, the fuel stations there. As I said, to put a bit crudely, not exactly politically, but that could have taken Gulu like another, giving them the lifeline they needed to go for until to almost like get into the peak season of December. So should that be a reason for these sittings? Not necessarily, but as I say, either way, Parliament is fairly redundant, but as I say, these things sometimes have consequences we don't yet see. And Northern Uganda typically is more national and civic conscious than the rest of Uganda. You're more likely to hear songs that say Uganda, oh yeah, from Northern Uganda, whereas those from the central part and, eastern part, it's just about me, love, and whatnot, and all this. So, and these people, remember, were once in power, some for 6 months, others for 8 years. So I guess that feeling, as I say, can't be disregarded. And when it goes to Masaka next, once again, then we'll see why it makes sense. Once again, those sleepy towns that then get these full houses that take them for, for many more months and whatnot, it's a way of spreading the national cake. So I don't have a strong view for or against it. Whichever way it fell or went, I am at the most shedding crocodile tears. But I think
Tim spoke about music, and Jimmy will agree with me that the tunes have since changed. When we're growing up, coming from West Nile and crossing through to come to Kampala, you would, as soon as you cross Karuma, you would erupt into prayers because you've survived death. And the songs where we don't care, we don't mind, Lok Ming Ming, Peace Return to Northern Uganda, those were the songs. But now, if you go to Gulu and you go to BJ's, the tunes of Get Down Low, Bend Down Low tunes are coming out of Gulu. Ozambe is now... But also, as a journalist covering the land conflict in Apa, I survived being torched because I went with a brown cameraman who looked like a Muindi, so they said Madvani has come to finish us. I walked over dead bodies in Apa, jumped over them. When you go today, the Apa question is not settled because of the tribal aspect and things like that. But you see that there's a renewal for growth in Gulu, and for me, I think that's a good thing. Many times discussions happen about these issues without a comprehensive idea. I think that what is bothering people is that for the last 60 years that we have been independent, Parliament has always sat in Kampala. It is what we are used to. It is what we know. Derek, it is like you, when you wake up, it's a routine. So people are debating and saying you're wasting money, but you see that money has already been allocated to Parliament for the same purpose. If it had been spent in Kampala, you would not even know about it.
Yeah.
That's the point. But also, too, I've tried to listen to those who are... yesterday, I listened to Yusuf Serunkuma saying it was political nyege, sort of. and I thought that actually it was not derogatory the term he used, because nyege is about experiencing people's... what do you call it? If you desire something, then you experience it. So if there's a yearning for political nyege in northern Uganda, then so be it. But it is important that actually, I realized that members of parliament did not know the road that goes to Gulu.
Yeah.
But this is the person who is going to discuss the budget framework paper to work on the priorities of the country.
For me, just to add on to this thing.
Yeah, please add on now.
Yeah. Okay, now I can speak. Oh, okay.
Now you can speak.
No, for me, and I said, people are not looking at the positives of the regional meetings. The positives largely are also on the quality of the MP. The position of MP is a national position.
Yes.
A person who does not go beyond the confines of their village and Kampala never understands what is across in other areas. So when we are discussing, when Parliament finally goes to the West and goes to Rushenyi, for example, where people are drinking water, muddy water and whatever, he will understand that, you know what, the West is not the land of honey and milk, and, he will appreciate it a little more when it comes to the flow. So for me, more than anything, we of course they have demystified the money element that we spend on more wasteful things like East African games, which have zero impact on the person than this. So for the money question, they have their money, they approved it, they never made noise, when they were approving the money, but now they are making noise on the spending. I think it's political. Then secondly, for me, it is the political season. It's the silly season. I think this more than anything has played well in the hands of NRM.
Yes.
And they have won the hearts of the people there. I have a problem with people who make decisions emotionally. Because you see, as an opposition that you're leading that does not have even a single MP in the north, you go there and make a statement. All the things that you've been saying about government and how rotten it is and everything, go there, present it to the people, let them see this person.
In a rally or
no,
that closed the parliamentary?
Whether it's closed, no, they had so many, like you said, like he told you, they were on radio stations, they were on...
We had open space on all the radio stations. It was
even
a matter
if
of
you
saying...
went to a bar and a restaurant and made your case there, it's not so much... So for a next campaign, so you see the president out of his numerous and busy schedule decides to go to Gulu to participate in a parliamentary sitting. It's a bit... They should have been
not just the president. The woman MP for Gulu City is a member of the FDC. I hope you noticed that she was translating at Peche. The Honorable Gilbert Olanya is a member of the shadow cabinet. He's the chairperson of the committee. He was down there.
So for me,
the UPC brigade, the DP brigade was down there.
So then, of course, there was a parliamentary committee section at General Saleh's home.
I mean, whatever the circumstance, right? The NUP or whatever, the opposition should be humble enough to say, okay, we are not going to stop this, let us participate and go. So for me, politically, it has scored for NRM, and they will definitely go there and make some hullabaloo. NUP gave their enemies some.
I think it wasn't pragmatic on their part. Maybe after disagreeing, they could have also gone to make a point. Because this is going...
No, Tim, as a parliamentary reporter...
The reason why, very quickly, the arguments I made when this was coming up, I said, and also the symbolism, the thought of the leader of opposition from Uganda protesting about a meeting in Gulu with all the
historical baggage.
Historical baggage, yes. I mean, they had an opportunity.
Although if we protest about the massacre meeting in the Puga campus...
Now, we are waiting. Let us wait and see what happens.
No, but you see, as I covered Parliament for about 10 years, and I've seen the Honorable Betty Aolo-Chan, Honorable Winnie Kiza, Nandala Mafabi, as leaders of opposition. The practice is that you call the opposition, you first call the shadow cabinet. After the shadow cabinet, you take a decision, you call the larger opposition caucus, and you take a decision. and say this is our position as the opposition. The leader of opposition simply woke up and took a decision, and I think that's why MPs like Dr. Lulme were saying, we are not your children. You don't just wake up and say I am ordering you to do this. If there was a wider consultation within the opposition ranks, I think they would have achieved something, some sort of a compromise position. But Derek's friend picks instructions from Kavule and doesn't know how to process political instructions.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have used an entire 30 minutes to hammer Joel, the leader of opposition. He was on TV last time and he was putting sense to some of the things that you people are seeing here. Some of them had been covered by the media, different media houses, and he was saying there were meetings that, and people agreed, especially from the larger opposition. Of course, with the opposition,
I can state for the record.
Listen,
no, for the record.
Opposition, of course, there are people who do not agree with the opposition, and that's just.
No, Derek. For the record, there was no opposition caucus meeting over the regional sittings.
Gentlemen, I am holding the Saturday Monitor. I am going to take you through some of the stories that will be making headlines in this paper tomorrow. Great retirement wave to hit government is on your cover. How do Ugandan poets manage to stay relevant? That is something from society, and in the lighter note, and many more stories. Mbali City struggling to regain its lost glory. Many stories there. So tomorrow, just run how EU's new organic rules affect farmers. That's also coming in from Tobias Jole Owini. Guys, if you just run to the streets already, this copy of the Saturday Monitor is already on streets. Just run and grab your copy at 2,000 shillings. But also, you have a chance to subscribe online and have yourself an e-paper at the comfort of the screen of your small cell phone right in front of you. I want to shift gears, ladies and gentlemen. We have dealt a lot and delved into the proceedings in Parliament in Gulu, but still holding a little bit flair about the Gulu thing. Again, to you, Joseph, I want you to help us understand this proposal on opposition MPs voting leader of opposition with the majority, the leader of opposition being voted by the opposition MPs in Parliament. How is this proposal going? What do some of the MPs, from your observation having been there, what is the impression, and what is the trigger point? Why now? Is it because the Honorable General Senyon did not go to Gulu? Now they are thinking that this should be something that should be punishing him, or what is the exact innuendo there?
Derek, I should state that one, what happened in Parliament is that the Honorable Lomu was granted leave of Parliament to bring a bill. So if we want to discuss the merits and demerits of the bill, then we must wait for the contents of the bill. Okay. So at this point, I think it's immaterial.
We can talk about the proposal.
Yes, we can talk. So there's a proposal. There's a cup. Someone says, I'm bringing a drink. You don't know whether it's whiskey or coffee or tea. But let's go back a bit. As a journalist, I covered Parliament, and I think that the reporting on this topic lacked context. Because as a journalist in Parliament, when you remember the fallout between the Democratic Party and the Forum for Democratic Change during the tenure of the Honorable Nathan Nandala Mafabi over the Yala elections, that saw Fred Mukasambide sneak to Yala, if I can use that word. Every time there has been political contestation between the opposition parties in Parliament, something like that has been. The first person to come with an idea of actually bringing an amendment to the Administration of Parliament Act was the Honorable Medad Lubega Segona of Busiro East. After that DP and FDC fallout over Yala, the Honorable Nandala Mafabi, in the heat of emotions, fired the entire shadow cabinet. And then the next morning was explaining that, no, for you, you're okay, I didn't fire you. For you, you're okay, and things like that. So the Honorable Medad Segona actually there's a draft bill. Maybe the media needs to go back and look at the draft Segona bill. He went and said, look, if you're going to be the leader of opposition, not the leader of the leading opposition party, then the rest of us must have a say over who leads us. Okay, said we must be able to own you and say that, look, you are my leader because I had a say in determining who becomes head of opposition. So many people have debated this issue like it's new, like it's falling from the blues. And I have seen a lot of attempts to pin it on the leadership of parliament as trying to punish Joel. But when the Honorable Medad Segona brought an idea like that, Joel was nowhere in politics. He was a journalist reading news, probably somewhere at UBC. So I think that.
But when you brought it, why was it, taken to conclusion? It was not fully accepted.
Why is it in opposition right now?
No, I'm saying it was brought. It came around an election year. The Honorable Medad Segona received political baptism from Green. He went to Red. And the rest is history.
He actually tweeted about it and explained that, look, Segona had pursued it.
Yes.
But after he moved to the
political baptism, he didn't see the relevance. Yes. But so for me, I think that I saw the comment of General Muntu, and I think that in principle I agree with it. He stated that, look, in a functional democracy, that would be a fantastic thing. But then he mentioned the weaknesses of our political structure and environment. And I think that in principle I agree with General Muntu that in a functional democratic state, it wouldn't be a problem that the opposition people sit and pick the most competent among them. But also too, people have said, Dr. Besigye made an argument that, look, in a democracy, the majority party, the party with majority opposition MPs elects. But you see, Africa's probably most functional democracy, South Africa. Nobody goes to the presidential ballot as an individual. No, you vote for political parties. Political parties submit a list to parliament. List number one on the list is your presidential candidate. So the South Africans don't go and say, I'm voting for Isaac or Jimmy. They vote for the ANC, and therefore the ANC goes to parliament and elects a president. So there is no one size fits it all for democracy. So I think that the people prompting this, the people have been, we are used to emotions. The Honorable Lumu has brought a bill. No one is going to debate the merits or demerits of the bill. We are going to say now these ones want Joel's head, and that's why I think it was my brother Fabrice who told me some years ago, the mayor of Entebbe. He said the problem with you is that you've individualized this country. You've reduced this country to 3 people. You've reduced this country to General Museveni. You've reduced it to Kano Besigye, and you've reduced it to Bobby Wine. This country is bigger than those 3 people, and it's bigger than all of us. And the moment we start putting individuals at the center of our conversations, then we lose the greater, benefit. So I think that, Derek, we should,
as you summarize,
wait for the Honorable Lumu's bill to come, and we debate the merits and demerits.
Tim, I want to come to you because this, if it goes through as a bill and certainly as a law or an act, it's certainly going to bring a situation where probably NRM is going to have a field day because it will certainly choose who becomes leader of opposition or not. What do you think?
Not necessarily. It's one of those things, as it is right now, well, of course, it's just like the NRM itself. Parliament in general is free to elect the new speaker at the beginning of every session. But of course, because of the majority is the NRM, it always ends up being Rebecca Kadaga, Anita Mong, and that sort of thing.
As so, NRM wishes.
Yes, because it's a majority party. So also in the opposition, yes, in theory, I can imagine the GEMAs, PPPs, and the others having a say in that. But of course, they will have the arguments, and it makes sense when the voting comes. The block of NOP, the 50 or so people will vote to have their Senyonyi or whoever, or Matthias Mpuga, and then your UPC DP with 9 MPs, 11 for UPC, 1, that sort of thing, will be left without any sense. So in that sense,
my view would be, is actually asking you that question, is that the speaker is going to to dictate so much on who becomes leader of opposition. They don't give them a lot of headache. They will influence that kind of.
Yes, which is what I'm
You're
trying to say.
indirectly saying we have an opposition that leaves their heads at home and
in the general debate, it's in principle, yes. It also, I guess, from one point of view, you might say morally, why not open it up to everyone? Once in Parliament, it's no longer about parties and constituencies. It's now just a general vote. But as I say, the fact of the matter is, there's a reason why every leader of the opposition since 2001 or 6 has been FDC. Not because the DPs and the others, the minority, couldn't have electors, but just when it's cast a vote.
I think, in my opinion,
I want us to pass off a commercial break, and when we return, we shall carry on. Welcome to this last segment of the Hot Seat. I have 4 panelists. Joseph Sabiti from Parliament, and he's speaking very nicely. I have Timothy Kalejira, I have Jimmy Odoki, and I have Isaac Kayonde. I wish you can see some of the comments that are coming through about Joseph. Let's leave that at that. Let me go to you, Isaac. The proposal to have opposition MPs elect the leader of opposition. Of course, I know what you would like to express, but
why are you debating in anticipation?
He has told me.
Why? That was off the record.
So from your end, how impactful and how important would this kind of decision be for especially the larger opposition?
I think, first of all, as it is phrased, it's really redundant. It's redundant because of the same principle of numbers. That if the wider opposition gets to elect, obviously whoever will be elected will come from NUP. And obviously the NUP flag bearer in that house will be whoever Chagulani has chosen. So it is a redundant thing. It is meant to
waste time.
Not to waste time per se,
legitimize.
But it's a political thing now, right? It may look like an attack on Senyonyi, and maybe it is being used to clip his wings because his tone is really one of rivalism. But that said, there has been underhand current that maybe they're bringing this into another political question in our change politics. They're bringing this bill, but they want to bring in some other issues about electing government, leader of government business, and all that thing. And I think we are being extremely speculative if we have not seen what Lumu is coming with. So for me, to that extent, really, I just think it's a redundant proposal.
Jimmy?
The good thing we have Joseph here, who follows these things, understands what is discussed even behind that doesn't come out in the public.
He will lie to you.
Joseph, lie now.
I may tell the truth selectively, but lying is a strong word.
Okay.
But it's the political season, the president was there, and they're telling these guys, you didn't come to Gulu, don't come here during the campaign time. So it's a lot of, the NRM is trying to do many things to favor them. Yeah. Basically, they may be in charge of what happens in the opposition. And there may be no opposition, as Museveni said, that there will be no opposition by this time.
That's what I mean to disagree.
Politically, when you observe the grand happening of things, do you think you need that amendment to kill the opposition?
No.
Let me tell you, from 2006 as a journalist, 2011 to 2016, you could see that the opposition efforts were aimed at General Museveni as the president. The change-seeking forces aimed for the president. The last 2 years have seen NUP's energy focused on Anita Among. The last time I checked, Anita Among.
I don't think.
I am telling you.
Among has been attacked by NUP.
Who do you think does it?
It is on social media.
No, my friend.
They're paid by
not paid. I have been to Kamocha with you. There's a room where boys are there with phones. One person has 6 phones. One person is running 15 accounts. Their leaders.
So
listen to me. Listen.
The likes of Spire, the likes of.
You are diverting me. The point is that NUP has been preoccupied with Anita Among. They have left the president who holds power in this country. They have been diverted by.
Timothy has raised his hand.
Maybe I should listen to
Okay, very briefly, there's an article coming out. I don't know when the Monitor, maybe it's Sunday or whichever day, but I was contacted for my views. But in quick summary, the one thing which Joseph has failed to bring out is NUP, remember in the last election, really won. It was a Buganda-centered party, Nambeshe being the exception. And NUP's strategic moves over this term should have been to expand significantly beyond Buganda. But over the last 3 years, I kind of feel that they've squandered that opportunity and been reduced to squabbles within themselves, then within Buganda. So NUP has failed to do that very, very important thing, which is to be seen as gaining support elsewhere. That's, to me, the bigger thing that Joseph isn't picking up on. And also, then, of course, this idea of the opposition will be finished. On that, I disagree for just one simple reason. The conditions that create disenchantment, anger, the land grabbing, the corruption, all those, as long as the soil and the climate of injustice remains, you cannot kill the opposition. You can pick up leaders individually. You can even bribe the entire media, civil service, buy them, but you won't solve the problem. Should anybody just come, all these Eddie Kensos who have now gone to become presidential advisors, music career over. The next person who comes up and becomes, a voice of the population, just the way NUP shifted support in Buganda from DP to themselves will rise up. So now, as long as the actual conditions, the pain of Ugandans, the injustice, the potholes, all this nuisance called Uganda remains, you cannot do away with the opposition. It will always be there in the population waiting for a leader to emerge.
The difference, I think, Tim, is that actually the authentic opposition in Uganda now is not the political opposition. It is the citizens who feel aggrieved, who have land issues, who have questions of the business community that feels their priorities are not being addressed. The intern doctors who think that the state should pay attention to them. For me, that is the opposition in the country now. The official opposition is callous. and maybe if I can conclude what I was saying, that look, I covered Dr. Wesinje and General Muntu at the height of the FDC. I have never seen a party leave the top shot where power is and settle for, should I say, the political low-hanging fruit in the equation. When was the last time, for example, you had the National Unity Platform plan an activity around the presidency? The leader of opposition is preoccupied with the speaker. I have not been invited to the commission. I have not done this. And this. So, no, I'm just saying. Now, General Museveni, we are about 11 months out into the next general elections. Honestly, if you went outside Buganda and went to West Nile, you went to Acholi, where Jimmy comes from, you went to Eastern, went to Busia, where you come from. Where would you say that the National Unity Platform has pressed buttons to win over people? And they have 0 MPs from these areas. I talked to the NUP leadership in West Nile, by the way. Beyond the political issues, they are my brothers. We have a regional interest, and I talk to them and discuss with them. So where are you going to pick an MP from in West Nile? If you want to win over Acholi, which, by the way, has really pressing issues, the conditions that Tim talks about, and then you say you can't go when House is sitting in their area. Do you know why the FDC MPs who come from that region were the first to run and became translators for the speaker? Others were following her everywhere. She went from one place to another. One was courtesy, but also two, the Acholi is a politically sensitive region. You go with your Kajanja, they will give you what you want from there. So they missed an opportunity to advance their political interests in the north. But also, they're going to miss that opportunity if they don't come to Mbale. And then if they don't come to the west, where they are really inconsequential. So I think that, one, politics is about balancing interests.
You have to regroup.
They have to actually regroup. For example, I predict a situation whereby the chief opposition whip, John Baptist Nambeshe, for example, will actually say, I am going to Mbale because I have to represent the issues of my people in Bududa. And then you go to Acholi, your shadow cabinet is there. You have announced a boycott, members of your shadow cabinet are there. So the general interests of the opposition need to be realigned, rediscussed. But also, maybe, just like here, when Tim is talking, we listen to him because experience matters in these things. Yes. The official opposition in this country is led by political amateurs, populists that have done things that resonate with the local people, that resonate with what people feel. But the strategic leadership to take them to take power, callous.
Yeah. Jimmy, there is a lot about the oppositions being talked, and you have always defended the opposition in this studio.
I can see Derek looking for a way out.
I'm not looking for
today you.
I wish I was seated that side. I'd have given my views.
Today you won't survive.
I wish I was seated that side.
Derek, I think Joel must have also been attacked wrongly. Like our friend Joseph says, he meant something. It was in good faith that, this thing was not the priority and stuff. To be critical, maybe he could have, after doing that, would have been more pragmatic to just go, even if it had been critical of it, about the entire thing. As Joseph said, the problem was in the budget framework, the planning. I don't know if the leader of opposition doesn't know that this could have been influenced at the stage of the budget framework paper and stuff like that. So in that he could have done better than. I think not going was a mistake. Not going, it was misfired. Maybe they will rethink for the other parts. Masaka, Mbale, going to Western Uganda. They'll have to rethink and catch up quickly. Otherwise, it won't work in their favor in the national uniform.
Last shot. 2 seconds.
Well, 2 seconds. I don't know. I just think that the opposition missed out on a great opportunity to connect with the people. I just think it's also silly season, the political season. Everybody's, running a campaign somehow, and they need to get into the fray of this thing. Lastly, I have a big fan, Ivan Kamuhanjire. Thank you for listening. Till next Friday.
Timothy, your last one.
Just to be for once on this show today, to be fair to the opposition, the good thing is the NRM just has a way of scoring on goals, matches. Enough of them to just keep the little light going. Example exhibit, the friendly fire between Odrek Rawogo and Mose Kanerugaba. That's just the first family alone. So in other words, just that somehow there will always be something, even when the opposition does nothing. It's a bit like the Monitor. Even if the Monitor had endless spelling mistakes, as long as there's this NRM government, there's always a big scandal for the Monitor to sell. So
thank you very much, our listeners. Thank you very much, my panelists. I remain Derek Wandera. You've been good listeners and a good panel. We shall be back next Friday with a big and even better panel and topics. Have a nice weekend. I am going to continue this conversation with Joseph Sabiti.